All right, we're good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here. A little bit of a different setup. I'm on the road this week, so
Slightly
Coda's
stressful, but we'll get
recording.
on it.
Yeah, it works. We don't have the pretty things, so it's okay. You guys don't have to deal without the pretty things. But we do have things. I'm not prepared at all for this. Why not? Let me pull up what we normally talk about in order, and then I can actually talk to what we're going to talk about. Um, so this is we're week 4 now, or the week 4 podcast. So I appreciate you guys coming in. I know we just talked to Dan recently. But what was the final number? 216 something something something.
I believe it was 216.
We're a lot of points scored.
216. Lots of points for Dan, so we figured why not invite him to come back again. I felt real good about 207, but then this fucking guy 218.56 for Dan. So we'll run through what happened last week. So Dan picks up the win over the Webster Tigers by about 130 points. Really close game there. The implications pick up the win over the Diamond Dogs, 207 to 159. Team Chase and the Seawards in the battle for fucking I don't know what. Chase picks up the win, 93 to 85. We've got Kung Fu Pandas picking up the win against Brownout in the game of the week, 189 to 153. The inaugurals. We don't have music. This is going to annoy me because I usually
actually, now that you say that, we do actually. Hold on, it's. That's all I got.
I thought you said you weren't doing a bit.
That was the bit for sure. Wow.
A drink to you, Dan. What am I truly? How was that, by the way?
I wish I didn't do that part, but that's all right.
We got it recorded, so it's all good. Everyone in the
the inaugurals pick up a win by 72 points over Win Lake Flynn, and Justin's Deli against Iraqi. Justin's Deli picks up the win by 30. So some close games this week, some not so close games this week. And I the biggest surprise is 2 teams over 200. Pretty impressive. Dan being one of them. I mean, if someone told you, so all jokes aside, Dan, someone tells you, God damn it, someone tells you that you break 215 points this week. Do you believe it? If someone says someone's going to go over 200 points, are you like, yeah, it was me, or no?
Yeah, I mean, I'll let the veil of the character down for a second, and no, probably not.
Just a second.
Just
clarify.
I've been due for a win, and I've been expecting it. I mean, without my 2 best players and quarterback, putting up that sort of number is not what I thought was going to happen. But it's what I've been saying is possible for a while. I didn't expect it, but I knew it was there.
Jordan Love's been throwing TDs everywhere, so that helps.
Yeah, it's kind of talking pre-show about that. Thank God Jordan Love ended up being good. Because, oh boy, if he wasn't, I'd be in a lot of danger right now. So, but I'm feeling good, and I think I've made that note. So,
in the 8 leagues that I'm in, Jordan Love is the worst quarterback I have. So I'm very, very happy with what I've seen. I mean, unless you count like Baker Mayfield being on the bench, I'm talking about starting quarterback type deal. But yeah, Jordan Love has looked really good. Looked a little scary there for a minute, but pulled it out in the end. And is this where we formally ask the haters of our trade? Sorry, Code. I feel like you're the third wheel for a minute, but I promise we'll get to you.
I was never a hater on that trade that you guys. I think
this is the formal.
Yeah,
formal. Here he fucking goes. Formal. We want an apology. Dan and I both want an apology as to the Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, Zach Moss for AJ Brown trade.
The haters were out in full force. Aiming to get 1 trillion points dumped on their heads. Unreal. Yeah. Keenan Allen, he's the wide receiver 1. Oh my God. Get out of here. He's the best.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Really impressive week from him and the Chargers. And not that you don't want injuries to happen, right? But Mike Williams done for the year, right? So I think that means Keenan Allen's stock goes up, Quentin Johnson as well. But yeah, I mean, they do 51 points. And Mike Williams was playing most of that game. It happened in the 4th quarter, I think. It's not like he wasn't there, and that's why that happened.
He was there.
Pretty impressive stuff. Yeah.
You just love to see it.
Let's go to our standings for the league right now. So, pretend you can see it on your screen. In the Jamarcus Russell division, Alan McNatt, Justin Stelly in first place alone at 4-2. Dan Flashes and Rutro Raggy both at 3-3. Ultimately, Rutro Raggy holds that tiebreaker from the win against Dan Flashes, so don't pay attention to sleepers out of order. And the Webster Tigers at 2-4 there in fourth place. In the Ryan Leaf division, the Kung Fu Panda is one of the only two teams at 6-0. The Inaugurals go up to 4-2 to take second place. Brownout goes to 3-3, and Win Like Flynn at 0-6 there in fourth place. The only team that's 0-6 in the league. The Implications and the Achilles Smith division are at 6-0. Diamond Dogs at 3-3 in second place, and the Seawards and Chase are both 1-5. Chase is in the third place technically since he beat the Seawards last week. Most points scored right now go to the Implications at 517. It is awfully close with a lot of teams up in the high 400s. Dan Flash is 483, Kung Fu Panda is 49, Brownout 482. So lots of them up there, and most points against. Who takes that not so fun crown? Webster Tigers looks like 471. 471.24. No, the Diamond Dogs at 471.54. Yeah. So very close there, but
Oof.
yeah, that's where our standings are at so far. Clear leader in the Achilles Smith division, a mostly clear leader in the Ryan Leaf division. Jamarcus Russell division stays nice and muddy, as it kind of has tended to. Code, you were awfully dark. Pay your power bill. But it stays there. Anything after we started this season, we all had our own opinions on who was going to be where. But that first set of divisional games is really, really important. I feel like that sets the tone, because if your games don't go well early,
right,
it changes your entire dynamic, right? So, for example, I sold everything last year after going 0-3 in the beginning. So things have kind of settled a bit, and it makes you wonder what teams will do from here on out. Code, what are your thoughts on the standings so far?
I mean, like we talked about last week, like one win in the Division of Death matters so much, and like you just look at K-Mig's team 3-3. Obviously, he had to play you, so it was a challenge, but 3-3, and he still has like one of the highest points for. So I mean, I don't know. I think the divisions are kind of playing out like we kind of thought they would in the preseason, because I know we did like the preseason rankings, and everyone was kind of like, oh, like the Achilles Smith division is the Implications and then the Dogs and maybe the Seawards, but like everyone kind of figured that Rick and Chase would be down near the bottom. I mean, really, like the Jamarcus Russell division is where all the hype's at, because it's just like a new person could be in the first place like any any given week. So obviously Allen's sitting there right now, but like we talked about back on the Panda Common hype, some of his guys just not really producing very well. Luckily, he has TJ Stroud that he can start instead of Justin Fields, though.
Yeah, and in theory, in 1 week in that division, you can go from fourth to first. You can go from first to fourth.
Right.
So that does add some interesting dynamics to it. So our theme of this week, is there anything I'm missing here in terms of what we want to talk about? I don't think so, right? Just we'll talk about next week towards the end, I suppose.
Yeah, it's going to be Crystal Ball.
Yeah, so we're all going to look into our crystal ball, the magic crystal ball of the future, and talk about, do we think, and we'll go division by division. Maybe we'll do reverse order this time since we tend to start from Jamarcus Russell, but and it's going to be the most fun to talk about too. Do we think the standings stay in this order exactly at the end of the season? We're not going to talk about, do we think that team makes the playoffs versus this team, and say, well, the Diamond Dogs might, and I don't, the Seawards and the Diamond Dogs and Raggy might be battling for the final wild card spot. And we're not doing any of that. Just purely from a division by division perspective, will the division stay in this order at the end of the year? So we'll start from the Jamarcus Russell division, just because, again, I think that there's going to be, we'll start at the Achilles Smith division, just because I think there's going to be a lot more discussion as we get towards the end of this.
Yeah.
Do we think this stays in this order? Implications at the top, Diamond Dogs in second, Chase's team in third, the Liquidators, and Rick's team in fourth. Do we think that that's how it's going to stay, or do we think something different? And Dan, we'll start with you.
I mean, I think you're taking the one spot, that's for sure, and I think Code's team's probably the second best. What could change here is if the Chiefs start playing good football. I think Chase could be.
Hmm.
I mean, like if you look at his receivers,
Yeah.
I mean Drake London, Sky Moore, Rashee Rice. I mean, those are, I'd say 3 underperforming guys. It seems like
Yeah.
Rashee is actually coming into his own, so I think he's on the way up. Sky Moore should be good. He's not. He should be.
Could be.
And actually, he's all right the last 2 weeks, I guess. And I mean, Drake London is up and down, and I really wish I
Yeah.
could tell you what's going on there, but
It's because
Yeah,
Desmond
other than
Ridder
the
is
obvious,
good.
yeah.
yeah, but I mean, he had the same quarterback last year who sucked, and I mean, half the year he had a worse one, I guess.
Right.
So I don't know why he's worse this year, and I guess you just hope the ship rights itself. Goddard,
Right.
I mean, is again underperforming, I would say.
Yeah.
Mingo, I'm a believer. I think Mingo's gonna hopefully do better. Pittman's good. Tannehill's tough, but I mean, short answer, I think this division's probably staying where it is. But if things change a little bit for some of these underperforming guys, they should be a little bit better.
Code, what do you think? Do you think it stays the same? I think, and no offense or gloating, but I think that the popular opinion is you and I are 1-2. I think there's some discussion for Seawards versus Diamond Dogs in the 2 spot, but I don't think so anymore. Do you think it stays the way that it is now, or do you think there's some shifting at 3 and 4 there?
I think the 3 and 4 is like the obvious. It's going to be any given week for Rick or for Chase. Like Rick, I think has more proven producers than Chase does on that roster. So maybe, I mean, I know that Chase won the first meetup against
Right.
the C-words. But yeah, I mean, I really think like for me, the bottom's gonna come out if like Jefferson or Hurts goes down. But if
Right.
neither of those guys, and honestly, like since we were talking about it, I know everyone was like busting Hurts' balls for his performance on Monday night, but he was playing with the flu, and
Sick.
then also I know you guys noticed this too because we're Eagles fans, all of us. It's an Eagles show.
Yeah, 3 of us. Oh yeah.
Hurts
Birds.
hasn't been running very much, and like that's not
Like it.
that great for fantasy. But honestly, I'm kind of okay with it if he keeps getting touchdowns. Like I'd rather him like just get like a tush push touchdown than get 60 yards on the ground and take shots from guys all game.
Yeah.
So because I mean he still has an arm as we've seen. So but yeah, I mean I think I'm comfortably in the 2 spot unless one of my big guys goes down. But yeah, I think it's your division unless something happens for you as well. So
Yeah, I do agree. I think that's the case. Do you think you consider just a curveball question with a 3-word answer? Because you always say like 2 words and it ends up being 8. So 3 this way it ends up being 12. Do you think if Hurts or Jefferson goes down, you start selling or no?
too early to tell.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Their
those
receiving
4
core
words.
is pretty nice,
Yes.
though. Tell you
For
that.
who? The Diamond Dogs?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, you've got some receivers there. Obviously, Justin Jefferson, and then the draft picks that you have hit so far with Zay Flowers and Tank Dell. Really nice. You've got Lockett that you bought in free agency for $87 million. I think it was $82.
It was a lot.
Yeah, Jacoby Myers has turned up nicely with how much the Raiders paid him, excuse me. So you do have some pieces there, for sure.
Future
I-
Jets legend Carson Wentz on the taxi squad too. Don't forget about
absolutely.
that.
We're waiting for
Yeah.
the Jets to sign him. And I do remember Blind.
They just signed Simeon, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
they did.
Yeah.
I do
Spent
remember
all my meeting FAAB on his ass.
during the I don't know if it was during the draft. Dorito? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
His or her? Okay, you've said it like several times.
23.
Third time's a charm, but
2023 code. It's their name.
their name.
Oh,
yeah, I know. Yeah, gotta be. Yeah, okay.
How dare you?
No, I remember Blind giving me a shout out in an episode a while ago about how like I know how to draft receivers and like not trying to toot my own horn, but yeah, they're all the guys I'm drafting are hitting. But like it's 3 weeks and it's like such a small sample size, but I just try to look at did they produce in college? Yes. So it's like there's probably a good chance they're gonna produce in the pros. But there's a lot more that plays into that too.
Hey, if it works, it works. Let's move on to the Ryan Leaf division. So currently in first place, Kung Fu Pandas. Second place, the Inaugurals. Third place, Brownout. And fourth place, Win Like Flynn. Keep in mind, point scored are awfully close.
Mm.
Unicorn Bolt and the Pandas are at 489. Brownout is in third place is at 482. Inaugurals in second place are 459. We won't talk about Flynn. 320. So respectable, right? It's not like you're having 80-point weeks, but definitely towards the bottom there. Do we think this stays in the same order? I don't know what I said. By the way, I don't think I commented on the Achilles Pants division. I think it stays in this order. I think Rick and Chase flip. I think Chase will continue to sell harder than Rick will. But I wonder. I don't know. So back to the Ryan Leaf division. Do we think it stays in this order? Code, we'll start with you on this one. Do you see it staying the same, or do you see any movement?
I mean, like, this is obviously the toughest one to predict, like, just because of how like stacked the Pandas are, the Inaugurals are, and Brownout is. But Brownouts have the injury bug, and I mean now he's getting his guys back, but guess who he has to play this week? So like
Right.
very easily could see him at 3-5, which is insane to think about. We didn't have him as a one guy to panic last week.
Right.
And for Cam, really, he just needs Burrow to turn it around. And like even if Burrow doesn't, it's like, okay, what? I throw Kirk Cousins in, who's throwing the ball 45 times a game every single week. So
Right.
it's I just don't really know if I see Unicorn slowing down anytime soon, which is why I'm gonna say I think it stays as it is right now. I really think K-Migs needs to like find a way to like make a move for someone that can actually produce. Because as much as I love Garrett Wilson, like he's not producing with Zach Wilson, and that's just the reality of it. So I'm not going to say that I'm open because finding trade partners right now is difficult, considering where I'm at in my build. But
Right.
we definitely should be trying to look at like a package or upgrade or something. I know you've been preaching that for a while too, Blind.
Yeah. What I think is interesting as well is when you look at the inaugurals are ahead of them, the Kung Fu Pandas are ahead of them. The difference between the Kung Fu Pandas and the inaugurals is they don't have picks this year. The inaugurals and the Pandas have both sent theirs away. They've got third and fourth, but that's not going to do you very much. Brownout's still sitting on that first round pick. So we could see that pick move for something else at some point in time. I'm clearly a firm believer of if you're in, you're in, and if you're out, get out. No half measures, and so and that's why my entire 24 and 25 draft class is gone for this year. So I wonder if we see Brownout wait for the right opportunity, right? I can have the prettiest roster right now, but it doesn't matter until the season's over. So maybe we see that first move at a trade deadline for a hell of a deal for somebody, or sooner, or a package. Who could resist two of his receivers that are incredible for a similar move that Dan and I made, right? So definitely different options there and different outs for them, and they're more flexible than the other contenders, I think.
And before Dan gives his take, a lot of K-Mix pieces are on pretty like fair contracts. Like there's not anything there that's like, oh, I can't move this because of I have to eat cap. It's like, no, you could figure it out. It's a lot better than me trying to move Justin Jefferson when I'm paying him over 200 for the next 3 years or whatever.
Yeah, or Dan and I playing with pennies over here half the time because that's what it feels like. It's like I cut someone. I'm like, sweet, I got $6 in cap space.
Yeah,
the world we live in.
All my money's tied up in my starting lineup, who is liable to die at any second. So we'll see.
So what do you think, Dan? When you look at that Ryan Leaf division, do you think it stays similar to where it is, or do you think there's any shift?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a boring answer, but I think probably, and again, it's the same as the last side, maybe the 2 or 3 switch. Because, I mean, Unicorn Bolt is, in the lead with, I think, the most points in the league, maybe second.
Yeah, second place behind.
And, I mean,
in the world.
Josh Jacobs has been underperforming. Waller's been underperforming. Kamara just came back, so, like, he could pull ahead. But... I mean, not pull ahead, but I mean, even like widen the gap. And then, I mean, you look at the next 2 guys, the same story. I mean, like Ramondre's sort of been underperforming. Gibbs,
right?
I mean, I've been anti-Gibbs since day one, but he's underperforming to what people with worse brains thought he would do. Dalton Kincaid hasn't played up to what he's supposed to be. Pierce, Chase finally did. And Burrow, and then but on the same note, I mean, K-Migs, the Brownout team, hasn't had Saquon and Eckler, who are probably top
Yeah,
5,
easily top
10
fives,
running backs.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, he's been without them for 2 and 3 weeks at this point.
3 games. Yeah, and I think
So-
that's a thing that's worth noting for sure. The inaugurals have not had much injury trouble, whatsoever. In fact, they've in a sense benefited just by having Andy Dalton on their team. Keaton Mitchell, the only person on IR for the inaugurals, whereas Kung Su Pandas has had some issues, right? Nick Chubb is out now for the year. Mike Williams for the year. Hendon Hooker isn't playing, but Hendon Hooker exists there. You look at Brownout, you obviously just mentioned some of the issues they're having too with Saquon out for that week, with Eckler. So it becomes interesting because some teams have had to battle the injury bug already, and some haven't. And I think that also contributes, right? When you say, because Eckler is on Brownout, right? I swear to God, I didn't. I just
Yeah,
I,
no,
I
he is.
didn't
Yeah,
there.
he is.
Yeah, like he's 3-3 missing Saquon and Eckler. I mean, if I'm missing Allen and Mahomes, I'm 0-6, right? So I think there's a testament to how well he's managed a team to get to 3-3, and now escaping out of the divisional games. The road gets easier for that entire division. It gets harder for everybody else
Right.
within reason, right? All right, I agree. I think the only thing I could see switching would be Brownout and the inaugurals. I don't know why I'm such an inaugurals hater this year, but I am. It seems. I don't see Unicorn Bowl losing the first spot. I don't see Win Lake Flynn losing the fourth spot. I think those two in the middle could shuffle depending on bye weeks and schedules and advantages there. But I think that the placement of the two of them will really come down to their divisional games at the end of the year. And that'll be the real big driving force in how things shake up there. When we look at the last division, let's talk about the Jamarcus Russell division now. We've currently got Justin Selly in first place at 4-2, and then we've got the Words. We've got Rubber Raggy at 3-3 in second. Dan Flash is at 3-3 in third, and the Webster Tigers at 2-4 in third. When you look at the points, fairly spread out, kind of close in one regard. Then you've got the league lead at 483, or excuse me, the division lead at 483. Justin right behind you, or Justin Selly right behind you at 462. Then there's a bit of a drop to 388 for Rutro Raggy, and then another drop for the Tigers at 354. But the Tigers started out strong. Everybody really excited about them picking up the upset win against Justin Selly at 149. The only two losses Allen's had this entire season. But do we see this one staying that way? Dan, we'll let you go first since it's a personal touches. Your division.
Taking over. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, again, my team's only going to get better from here, and I have the most points. I don't know how much more annoying I can be about it, but apologize. I'm the best. I'm going to win. So that's all I got. That's all I got.
So you think you and Dan, you think you and Alan switch places there, and you take first, you take second?
Yeah,
Do you think
absolutely.
any other shuffling?
100%. No, that's all me. He's starting DJ Moore and Tyler Boyd. I win.
I
Dan
win.
wins.
Oh,
I
do you
got
echo that
got his
sentiment?
ass. That's what else do you need to say?
Yeah, I mean, I don't
would.
have a ton to add, but like I think that whereas like in the Ryan Leaf division, it's like anybody could maybe make first. Like obviously we don't think Unicorn's going to drop, but that is a lot more closely contested. Whereas I feel like in the Jamarcus Russell division, it's Allen versus Dan, and then Zoinks versus Morgan. I think that like Allen and Dan could switch on and off all year, and Zoinks and Morgan can switch on and off all year. And I don't really see Zoinks going up into like second or first place. I don't see Morgan going into second or first place, but I could easily see a world where Morgan becomes third. And then yeah, for Dan, right now, I mean, yeah, you just got to get Taylor and Cutback, and if they come back, and if they're even performing at like half what they used to perform at, like you're probably challenging Allen for that first spot, and then it's just who has the better week, and it's like coin flip of that. So
Taking it. The league got lucky that I had 4 players combined for 2 points week 1.
Yeah, that's
We'll
a good point too. Yeah, and like Henry had like 2 points this most recent week. You would have had more. You would have had like 230 something. Who knows?
It's all right. That's
Any fear or regrets with Derrick Henry there? I mean, 13 points, then 19, then 2. Does that you don't have
I mean,
so teams built the way that whoa, Jesus. Teams built the way that ours are don't have room for error. Um, does that scare you at all, or are you not even worrying
no,
about
I
it?
mean,
Dan?
he was good. I figured this was going to be the last year of his relevant career,
Mhm.
so I took a shot. And he did good the last. I mean, considering he was a fill-in for my team, the fact that he put up 14 and 19 the last two, yeah, basically. So I mean,
Yeah,
he's
13.9 and
going
18 and a
fine. He
half.
had a down week, and it's trending bad, but I also have the greatest of all time, Zach Moss, to fill in for him if I need to. So,
What is what's your plan for bye weeks? So, I mean, that's an
cry,
obvious question, right? Of what? I'm
Cry,
sorry.
yeah.
right? Just cry a lot.
Yeah, so that's my main concern with your team. As much as I am a fan and respect it, right? You've got Amari Cooper and Keenan Allen both on bye week 5. Jordan Love week 6 and week 7. Ferguson and Derrick Henry. Um, nobody in week 8. So if you're playing week 8, buckle up. Week 9, it's Russ and Christian Kirk.
Hmm.
Week 10, it's Raheem Mostert. Week 11, it's Taysom Hill. And that's just the people that you have currently starting as well, right? Not
I
talking about
basically,
the
I need
it's spread out.
Cup and JT to actually start playing week
Yeah.
5,
Yeah,
which
that'll help.
they are supposed to. So
Yeah, Sean McVay said 2 hours ago he's hoping Cup will play week
yeah.
5 against the Eagles.
So I first and foremost, I need that to happen. Otherwise, I'm going to be starting Xavier Hutchinson. So
Maybe
yeah,
they'll-
no, it's gonna be tough.
Are you okay with it this way? Would you almost rather it be, you know, everybody's on bye in week 7 and you just know it's going to be an L and you keep moving on, or are you kind of
No,
happy it's one
I'm
guy
not,
here,
I
two
don't
guys
believe
there?
in I don't believe in giving up on a week. I'm not doing it. So I will roll out KJ Osborne and Justin Watson and Alan Lazard. I will do what I got to
Bless.
do, and the boys will get it done. So figured I'll just have Raheem Mostert run for 85 touchdowns again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
literally.
problem.
Code, did you didn't answer this question yet, right? I mean, you said the first and second switching, third and fourth switching. But do you think it ends like this? Do you think it stays like this, or do you think it goes differently?
Yeah, no, I didn't actually answer the question. I mean, I don't like. I feel like if Taylor comes back and says, you know what, I'm gonna play for the Colts, and he is like playing for the rest of the year, plays 75% or more of snaps for the Colts the rest of the year.
Yeah, like he's
I
I'll just
think
play it out. Fine.
I think Dan takes the division. But
Yeah, I feel the same way about when JT and Cup come back. I think that starting roster, we have to talk about injuries and all those other things, but until they happen, we don't have to talk about them. And I think a lineup of Russ Wilson, Jordan Love, that's a little scary at QB, but that's all right. And running back, JT, Derrick Henry, Raheem Mostert, Zach Moss if you keep him in there, Khalil Herbert if you keep him in there. And then your wide receiver core, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, Christian Kirk,
and Cooper
Cup.
Yeah, like
That's just
it's gnarly.
yeah, really good. A lot of that fifth wide receiver that you have to play. You've got 18 different options for and who you want to go with. Ferguson and Taysom Hill at tight end. Not the sexiest thing in the world, but Ferguson's looked good since basically taking the starting role. 10 points week 2, 9.8 week 3, week 1 a little bit rough, but they didn't need him against against the Giants. Sorry, Rick. So you've got some options and some flexibility there. I worry about the roster. I've been a Dan Flesh truther the entire way. I think that more than likely the division stays where it's at now. I think that Justin Stelly probably comes in first place just because there's better depth pieces there, and that they will survive injuries a little bit easier and survive bye weeks a little bit more easily. I do think that Dan Flashes is the better team overall. Makes any sense at all. Like I totally see a world where there's more points for Dan Flashes by 200, 300. But we're still in second place in the division because we had a shitty bye week. You had to start Xavier Hutchinson and Alan Lazard and got 3 points combined. That would be the concern that I have, really.
That's kind of why my answer all ties into is JT playing? Like, is he on the sidelines and not playing? Like, he's active, but he's like, there's drama or whatever. I'm just like, okay, like, but no, if JT is playing, then there's not a whole lot to worry about. I think it's Dan's division, but it's the bye weeks and then just the rest.
We'll see.
So
I just need my
it might
boys
be
back.
hotel Wi-Fi for me.
My
But I'm
expensive
not
baby
hearing
boys.
anything you guys, and it's coming through as a robot. So I'm going to leave this and come right back. Hold on 1 second.
All right, see you.
Bye. We were about done anyways, but we'll see if it's if you're back.
I am still having audio issues.
Okay, well, to be honest, we were about done anyways. Like, we could call it there if you still
Yeah,
can't
there
hear
you
us.
go.
My reading lips ability said, okay, well, to be honest, we're about done anyways. Is that what you said?
Yeah,
that's
Hell
what it
yeah.
is.
Look at that.
So,
All right. You guys
Spot
can
on.
hear me fine, though, yeah?
yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. And Dan just said something about how he has a huge penis. Did I read that one right? The lips read? Yeah, okay. So perfect.
That's what
I
they
mean,
tell me.
it checks out.
So I'll wrap this up
Huge
for the most
balls.
part. Looking forward to next week. Again, games out of the division. We've got the implications against Brownout, which probably is the game of the week. I don't like saying that I'm the game of the week, but I think it's probably the game of the week. That also means Brownout's been the game of the week 3 times, and that's too much for K-Mig's ego. We also got the Diamond Dogs against Rutrow Raggy. We've got Dan Flashes against the C Words, Webster Tigers against the Kung Fu Pandas, Win Like Flynn against Justin's Deli, and Team Chase against the Inaugurals. So, 2 games that are going to be good to watch. The rest should be fairly clear wins, not to be mean, but Dan should take care of the C Words. The Pandas should take care of the Tigers. The Deli should take care of Flynn. The Inaugurals should take care of Chase. But that's not necessarily the case, and that'll be how we close this out. Is out of those 4 games, which one do you guys believe is most likely to be an upset? Because again, the Diamond Dogs versus Rutrow Raggy, I feel like is a very fair game. The implications against Brownout very fair, but Dan Flash should beat the C Words. The Pandas should beat the Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
The Deli should beat Flynn. I can hear again, I think, and the Inaugural should beat
There you
Chase. Yeah, I can.
That's so
Any
weird.
one of those jump out to you? It was weird, yeah. Any one of those jump out to you as this is the most likely game for an upset? We'll go with whoever's ready first.
No, I mean it's a cop out because it's a close projection, but the Brownout implications game is probably the best one I see here. It would be cool to see Flynn pull out a win against Justin's Deli, though. I would love to see that.
Yeah, he would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. But no, I
Code,
think
what do
that's
you
probably
think?
the one.
That is a close projection, 45 to 55. Closest one so far.
Mm-hmm.
Code, what do you think?
I don't want to be like super pessimistic, but like the last couple of times I've played Raggy, he's just had my number. So he has some really like juicy matchups for some of his guys, like Higgins against Tennessee and Diggs against Miami. So it's like I'm hopeful, but I mean I'm not going to be surprised if Diggs scores like 40 points and then I'm screwed. So, but I have Jefferson and I have some other guys, but it's just I don't know. That's going to be down to the wire like the entire time unless one of us pulls away.
I will go. Oh man, if I had to pick one team for the upset, I think I would go Win Like Flynn over the Deli.
Do it for the meme.
I mean, I think that Flynn, 0-6 isn't good, and when you look at the starting roster for Flynn, you can make an argument that these guys are all a question mark 1, an RB1, wide receiver 1, tight end 1 at their position. Dak Prescott, Daniel Jones, Najee Harris, Miles Sanders, Andre Hopkins, Jigma. Yeah, so it's interesting. So I think that might be the one. If I had to pick one, I would say that would be the one. If I absolutely had to pick, a big upset, I don't know. I squint and see while the Webster Tigers beat the Kung Fu Pandas just because they've got some boom and bust, but there's such inconsistency. T-Law, Pacheco, and Javante have not looked good this year. Yeah, and so they should look good, but they don't. But yeah, I don't know if we'll see an upset this week, so it'll be interesting to see if we do. Dan, we'll throw it to you. Actually, I'll save it for the end. You'll be more fun than anybody else. Code, any final thoughts?
No, let's hear what Dan has to say.
Yeah, I've got none on my end as well. Dan, final thoughts from you and Dorito back there.
What else is there to say? I mean, I've been saying it forever. Been criminally disrespected. I'm back. Apologize. Just apologize.
I'm back.
That's all I
Anybody in
got.
particular? Is there anybody in particular you're looking for an apology for? Obviously,
Cam.
yeah.
They know who they are.
They know.
Just say sorry. Just say sorry.
Uh,
It's most of you.
Everybody else.
Everybody
You're
else.
most of you. So if you've watched the video to this point, just say sorry. We'll add
Say
that in
sorry.
there. Just say sorry. It's all right.
I heard you're giving out FAAB for every time someone types sorry in the chat.
No, I'll Venmo you $5
We'll
when
do
you
that
apologize.
instead, yeah. FAP is worth more than real life money in this.
Or just
Fab
Venmo
is
me
one of them.
$5 and then you don't have to apologize.
goodness.
I just need one or the other.
There you go.
You got
All right, well,
anything?
that's going to do it.
Nah,
Does
she's
he have
good.
anything back there? She's good. All right, well, that's going to do it for us this week. Back to normal next week in terms of the setup, and we'll have it all pretty for you. So, yeah, who plays tomorrow? Lions, Rams, or Lions, Packers, right?
Lions,
Should be a good
Pack,
game.
Yeah.
Jordan Love.
Yeah, rooting for the Packers for you, Morgan, and Unicorn. I don't know Unicorn's real name. I know some of you by real names, and I have some of your phone numbers,
Some of them are just.
but not all of you. Some of you are just other people. But yeah, looking forward to the games this week. Should be nice and fun. Good luck in your games. It makes him a hater this week. Sorry. Best of luck, guys. Talk to you soon.
All right.